Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Impact Farming Show. Today we have a special guest. I have Terry Betker from Back Swath Management with us, and he is going to be sharing peer groups. Let's call it Peer Groups 101. I'm really excited, so welcome.
Works for me, thanks.
Can you tell our audience about who you are, a little bit about your background and your company?
Sure, love to. Firstly, thanks for providing me with this opportunity.
My pleasure.
When we first talked about it, I thought, oh, this is so cool. So now we're here doing it.
I know, I'm excited. I've been waiting for this.
So peer groups. Yeah, well, firstly to Back Swath, we're farm management consultants.
Okay.
And we help farmers with business management in areas of the management of their farms other than production, agronomy, livestock, and marketing. So finance, planning, human resource management. We help farmers with intergenerational transition, so-called succession planning. We teach at the university. We do workshops. We have software that's proprietary to us that we use in the work we do with farm families. And what else? And we have peer groups.
Excellent.
So this is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
There's 13 of us in the group, and we work with farms, mostly in Western Canada, but into Ontario. And I just got back from Fredericton. I was down there for a couple of days doing a couple of workshops for FCC. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, totally cool.
You get around.
Yeah, and farmers are great everywhere. This is just the best job ever.
I believe it.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love going to farm shows and trade shows, and farmers are just great people.
Yeah.
So, okay, I am excited. Peer group. So, when I heard you talking about this at AgX conference, I just thought it was so neat. In the entrepreneurial world, the peer group, the mastermind, I've been hearing about that for a long time. And then when you gave your presentation about peer groups, I'm like, neat.
Yeah.
And how well needed.
Yeah.
So can you tell our audience what a peer group is?
Sure. It's very simply, it's a group of individuals who want to get together on a regular basis. It's not ad hoc. It should be structured and talk about their business. Okay. But it doesn't have to be just about business. The interaction between people within a peer group can be pretty robust and far-reaching in terms of what they actually talk about. But yeah, I think Tracy, as simple as that, just people that want to get together and talk about issues and opportunities and that they are encountering. That it's hard for them to find those types of forums, that's a pretty formal word, those kinds of structures or opportunities to have those discussions. It's something. What it's not, maybe, is one way to try to understand what a peer group is, and what it's not is a group of people getting together for coffee at the coffee shop.
Oh, you can't drink coffee?
Yeah, you can drink coffee and
I'm bugging you. Lots of it, probably, right?
Yeah. That's all part of it. That social interaction within a peer group is really important to create those relationships, but it's not a local area get together. Those types of structures are there, and people go and talk to others, but no, peer group is more specific, I believe.
Okay, so I know about peer groups, masterminds, that kind of stuff, and somebody, like when I first heard about it, I'm like, well, why would you want to do that? And farmers might be wondering that, going, well, you know what, I talked to my wife, I talked to my dad, I talked to this person, but I imagine the reason why peer groups are so strong for business owners, farmers, is the fact that it's like-minded people. I know Anthony and myself, we are farmers, and I have pretty much all my friends, my non-farming friends, that don't farm. And you know what? I don't talk to them about farming because they don't get it. Yeah. So is that the reason for peer groups? It's like-minded people that actually get what you're talking about?
Well, yes, for sure. Like-minded people who understand that. Like-minded people is pretty important. We don't want everybody in the peer group to be the same, so a peer group shouldn't be a structure where everybody goes and congratulates everybody on how well they're doing. I don't think a peer group, if it's going to function optimally, is where we find everybody that is of the same opinion.
Okay.
Because we need to challenge, the group needs to challenge each other to think a little differently about certain situations.
Okay. So sharing, learning, challenging.
Yeah.
All of those things.
All of those things. Tracy, peer groups are not a new structure. There's that forum has been used in business for a long time.
Okay.
And it's been used, I think, informally in farming. You know, there's peer groups, and they used to be called farm marketing clubs a long time ago. People will identify with that people got together, I think, as early as in the 80s to form and talk about how they could advance their marketing skill sets. And, you know, some of those evolved into management clubs, but they're pretty localized. And what started to be challenging for those groups, and I think it caused some of them to fail, like cease to continue, is because in a tight geographic area, they're all competing for, farmers generally compete for different resources, so that became awkward in some of those groups. And so the structure of a peer group is just a different form of what some of those things were in years past.
Okay. And you've touched on it a few times already, and that was my next question. I guess let's break it down into two parts. You said, I'm going to call it a conflict of interest. So you might not want people right in your local farming area, because if I come to the peer group and say, oh, I'm looking at buying this piece of land, there might be the neighbor that's going, I didn't know it was for sale, and the rush there. So I heard you speak to the farmers and say that sometimes we want a distance between different members in the peer group. Can you talk about that?
Yes. How the group is organized is really important, and I think we'll probably get to it in a discussion here, so not to get ahead of ourselves in that, but forming the group and the group coming to understand who they want to be in a peer group with. Because I think that's really important, is who are the peers.
Let's dive into that.
Yeah. So, who are, it's hard to find out who somebody peer is, because I don't know there's a test you can take to say that that's a peer. So I think one of the challenges in farms that I talk to who have an interest in peer groups is who to look and where to find the people that would be in that peer group.
Okay.
So that's why I think there's an opportunity for other organizations, other people to help with facilitation and organization of the group. So where I'm going to with this, though, is in the peer group, then the design is that we get the right-minded people in the group. Okay.
So when you're working with the farmers, you kind of help facilitate that, is what you do, to make sure that it's not a conflict of interest, that there's a variety and also sameness, probably all at once.
And in that, then they decide the proximity, the geographic separation from farm to farm.
Okay.
And I have, one group that we work with they've got farms, and I think the rule or the guideline in their structure is, I think, 70 kilometers.
Okay.
And then it was interesting, the next group that we got involved with, they said, well, we don't want to put a distance on it. We might, in fact, want somebody that's close to us to be part of our group because, again, a peer.
Yes.
And we might then not want somebody who is 70 kilometers away for whatever reason, Tracy.
Yeah.
But the group has to decide what all those policies or bylaws are within how the group is to be organized.
Okay. Since we're there, and you can touch on that a little bit later, but is there a right number for a group? Is there too many or too few people?
Well, I think so, and I think a lot of that is around the discussion that would occur in a peer group meeting. Too few, then there's not enough input, and I find that the discussion tends to lag, because in a peer group, well, let's assume that we have a group of peers, and in that structure, in those meetings, the people need to show up and expect to make a contribution and to receive a contribution. You can't, I don't think, or the group shouldn't expect, or someone shouldn't go there and not expect to be challenged or to make a contribution. Okay, so then if there's too few, then we don't have enough variety of discussion.
Yeah.
And let's say that we had a meeting and somebody had a crisis they had to deal with, and we were with 5 and now we're down to 3. Well, people are all making a commitment to attend, whether it's a day or 2 days or whatever that is. And so I think the expectation is that there would be enough people there to make that time worthwhile. Okay, so that's on a few. And then, which I'm sure you would anticipate on the other side, too many people then doesn't allow everybody the opportunity to provide input. So the number, I think somewhere between 6 and 10 farms seems to make sense to me, and up to maybe 15 people. If we get closer to 20, then the facilitator needs to be really skilled at ensuring everybody's making a contribution.
That's a big number to get around in an evening or a day. Everybody have their piece, share, whatever time. Okay, that is good food for thought. So here's somewhere I want to go.
Okay.
And I think this comes to a personality type as well. Are there people, myself for one, if I was looking at a peer group, I might feel, oh my goodness, I got to share. I got to share the good, the bad, the ugly. Because, I mean, when you're in a peer group, and that's the point, right, is to have support and a group. So you're not just there, I imagine, to show up and go, yep, everything's good. We had a drought, but no income and everything's amazing. I don't think that's the point of the group. So you're going there to share confidential and private, vulnerable information. Are farmers good with that?
After they develop the trust with the people that are around the table? Yes. And then it's human nature. So some of them are more willing, more open to share some of that. And what I've observed in a peer group, so we'll go back to the proximity. We typically in a peer group, you would, I think, expect to have people in that group that you didn't know. You may be aware of them, but you may not know them. So it takes 2 or 3 meetings for that relationship and that trust to build. And it's quite a powerful experience. At least I observe it to be quite a powerful experience when you could just the depth of discussion, the type of discussion just changes, Tracy. And then it'll take somebody in the group who will maybe push that a little bit further and say something or offer up a question that's just pushes the comfort zone of the rest of them a little bit, and then within that trust and relationship they come into the discussion. I mean, you know what, for the peer group or a peer group to work to its optimum, we got to get there. We got to get there, and a good facilitator can help to draw that out. I guess I'm going to come from left field, but it's like any relationship. I was going to say it's kind of almost like dating, right? You're going to show up for the first date, and then you get to know each other a little bit. Just like any relationship, you get to know, you build the trust, and then at that point you're more and more comfortable sharing those personal farm details, right? Absolutely. I've had lots of farmers talk to me when they, after attending a group, and they would say, we really had no idea what we were going to expect. We intuitively wanted to have that kind of a forum to go and talk to other farmers about too, because they didn't have the local area group to talk to. I mean, who else? You don't talk to your lender typically about that, or an accountant, or who. So I mean, if we just stop and think about it, a peer group structure just makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, but it's not for everybody. So some people will come, and while it's the best thing they ever did, others will think, this is not really what I want to do right now. They may have other priorities, Tracy. It's people will come and learn and start to, I think, derive the value from it and continue on, and others will take a look and say, well, not now.
Okay, that makes sense. And I could see the need for it, just diving into that, and then we'll roll into the next question. But again, going back to why, if I look at myself and Anthony and our farm, well, I'm not going to talk to my parents and my siblings because they don't farm, and sometimes they don't need that stress, right? They don't need me to come and talk about those things, and this is a personality for me, but when I'm with them, I want to do family and friend things.
Yeah.
And then maybe if you look at your friends that farm, maybe you're a little bit too close to home there. And then again, you have your professionals, your accountant, etc. But you're on the clock, and they're not really set up for that.
Yeah.
You're on the clock.
You're on the clock,
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
We'll point that one out. So, I mean, you're not going to go, some people might, and I mean, it would be very valuable, go to a therapist and talk about these things that challenge us on the farm. So, what an amazing concept to have that outlet, because I know, I mean, anybody that's ever had a burden on their shoulders and something bothering them after they've been able to talk about it in an environment with a person they trust, I'm sure we can all relate. You just go,
Yeah.
somebody gets me.
Yeah,
right?
I'll use an example. I belong to a peer group of consultants.
Okay.
And for me, and we've been meeting for 7 years. And there's 12 of us in the group now, because there's more because we're all individuals. So there's only 12 people in the meeting, and we get together actually 4 times a year, twice in person and twice by phone, and talk about management challenges. And why I belong to the group is exactly to your point. If there's something in what it is that we're doing, struggling with, opportunities, anything that I want to talk to, I don't have a forum for that, and I go to that peer group with a question, or I can email them or telephone them, message them.
Hey, what do you
meetings.
think about this? Right?
Exactly. Hey, I got this. This is. I mean, our heads go, I think, a little maybe to issues, but there's opportunities, business challenges, business opportunities, personal issues, and so that's why I think the peer group can provide for some people a lot of value, be a really good resource. I don't know where else they would go to get some of that stuff.
No, I'm really thinking, again, I come up blank on who I would share that with.
Now, having said that, I just as you were in the car, I recall a recent conversation I had with somebody about a peer group, and he did have 3 farmers. That he had 3 other farmers, and they were a little bit geographically dispersed. They weren't all local, and he had a really informal peer group. So there are those kind of modified, where they're not quite so formal in how they're organized. But he said that he and these 3 other guys had been collaborating on stuff that we're talking about here in peer groups for a long time.
Oh, great.
So the people will, I think, search out their avenues, and all we're talking about is something that's a little bit more formal in its structure.
Yeah, we're naming it.
We're naming it, yeah.
We're naming it.
And I think actually a peer group should name itself, because
like an actual club name or team name or whatever.
Well, yeah, because I think the group needs to take ownership of it.
Sure enough. Once you give a name, like you look at any sports team or club, you don't just say I'm going to the club, you're going to X club or X team. True. Good point. Okay, so that's fantastic. And I guess we probably covered this for the most part. If somebody's sitting there, how would they know if they want to be part of a peer group, should be part of it? Is there any more that you want to share on that? I mean, you could... Well,
just that I think they should expect to make an investment in it, and I think they should try it for a year.
Okay.
I think there's an investment of their time, which is actually more, I think, for a lot of them, more valuable than the money part of it. But there would be a cost to belong to a peer group. So the investment of their time is time taken away from business and time taken away from family. So a lot of farms will have young children and sports and holidays and everything else that they've got to try to find or create that time in there. So the expectation, I think, Tracy, the willingness to make an investment, and I think they should try it for a year. I don't know that if they just attend one meeting or give it a trial that they're going to really get full appreciation for what they could get out of a peer group, simply because of what we talked about earlier, the relationship and the trust.
Right.
And the feeling of comfort to drill down into some of the discussions.
Yeah, I know the first time I meet anybody, it takes a while to develop a relationship. So yeah, you can't expect to show up, go to one meeting, and then get a good feeling out of that. I have a quick question that came to me. So when we're talking about a farm, and this goes into maybe farm structure, and you said time away from family. Would a husband and wife go?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that kind of a thing, like you need to bring your spouse, you should, or is two brothers farm together?
Yeah. Well, any or all of the above. Okay. I love it when the spouses come, and especially when the spouses are actively involved in farm management. Yeah, because they hear it. So we don't, the groups that we don't have any rules around whether one or two people can come. So we'll have 4 people from one farm come, and 3 people from another, men, women.
Okay. Whatever's right for your farm.
I kind of got into this discussion actually over the banquet discussion in Fredericton last week.
Okay. And
there were some people that were interested in forming a peer group of dairy farmers.
Okay.
And so we talked about that a little bit, and then back to the structure of the group, I threw out there, well, you could have a group that is from one sector. The caution there, unless the group is purposed to focus on operations, if everybody is a dairy farmer or everybody grows chickpeas, then I think the tendency would be to more readily drill down into operation, the farming talk.
Yeah.
And the value that I think, the optimum value that I think could come from a peer group is where we broaden that discussion to include all aspects of management and then bring the personal part in and a human dynamic into it. And so I think actually if we can have farms in different sectors, different locations, I think that helps a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. So you shared a lot of wisdom. I'm not sure we could go on for hours and hours. We spoke about what a peer group is, the benefit, what to expect out of it, what you need to put into it. Is there any?
Well, there's a couple other comments. Sorry for interrupting. There's a couple other comments that people ask. What about size?
Okay.
So I think size has size of the farm.
Okay.
I think size of the farm has some consideration.
True.
We don't want all farms, I don't think, to be all exactly the same size, but quite frankly, a farm that generates $1 million of revenue has different management challenges than a farm that generates $15 million.
Absolutely.
So we have to be a little bit careful about that. In that, and then I've lost my train. Oh no, I know the other one is the age of the people.
Okay.
So do we all have younger farmers? Do we have more seasoned farmers? And again, that becomes what the people will want or experience. And I can just comment on what I've heard from the people that I have talked to who are in peer groups, and they like the diversity of age.
Okay.
So the more seasoned farmers have a lot of wisdom to share, and then of course the facilitators got to make sure we don't focus too much on one or the other. And the benefit to the more seasoned farmers is, what I've heard them say is they love being involved in a dialogue with younger farmers because it gets them energized, because typically the younger people are, holy, well, we could do this, we could do that.
New ideas. Change everything. Yeah.
And then the younger farmers like the input of the more seasoned farmers. So I think that you can work really well with a fairly broad age distribution within the group.
Okay.
And there has to be a mechanism in the group for people to enter and people to leave. Tracy, there needs to be some clarity on a few things. Confidentiality. I believe that they should sign we call it a statement of understanding.
Oh, good.
And then we pledge that at the first of every meeting.
Oh, good.
And I've had farmers, because I'm sensitive a little bit to the group, because I think for the group to function, if I'm facilitating the group, I could be replaced. I mean, they could hire you to come in and facilitate their peer group. They need ownership of that group.
Yes.
And so in that, then the facilitators responsibility is to make sure that the group is functioned and stuff, but they need to have structure. There needs to be the guidelines of who's going to do what and what the responsibilities are, that pledge. And anyway, sorry, I got off track there a little bit, but I'm sensitive to the group and what it is they want to accomplish. And so I ask them, do you like this formality? Do you like the fact that at the start of the meeting we go over our charter and renew our pledge? It almost sounds like we're in a club, eh?
Well, you are.
Well,
I
we
love
kind of are,
that.
but they love it.
I do.
They love it because the comment I hear is that it reminds us that this is purposed and it's not just a ad hoc get together to talk about stuff that's happening. There's structure to it.
Nice. And you know the part, I like that you said that about an agreement, confidentiality, because in business, if I go and discuss my business with somebody else, they'll sign an NDA.
Yeah.
I get them to sign that. And you know, I would actually share with you, Terry, and I'm sure there are a few people sitting there going, because they might be very confidential people, and I am so confidential. I will take everybody's information to my grave with me. I always say I'm more confidential than your lawyer. To me, that is my number one trait in life. So to open up and share, I'm very careful because I don't need somebody running around the county telling everybody about my business. So I like that you came out and said that because this is serious. This is business. Nobody needs to be sharing other people's private information. It's just like a good friendship. If your friend was gossiping after you guys got together, guaranteed you guys wouldn't be friends for long, right? So same type of concept. So I'm really happy that you touched on that because sitting here talking about peer groups, my biggest barrier, honestly, to starting a peer group would be confidentiality. Just letting you know that.
Well, I would do my best to allay those concerns, but the only way you're going to know is to come and try it out. There's one other point that you raised there, and that's around the financial information. So in the peer groups that we have, and as I've thought a lot about this, I think there are farmers out there who would be, Tracy, there are farmers I know who would staple their financial statements at the post office. They don't. They're not private about that at all. And others, to your point, hugely private about that.
Personality type, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And neither is right or wrong. And so I think, though, that in a peer group, I think we've got to default to the respect of those who don't want to share financial information. So we don't have that in our groups. There is some financial benchmarking, but so far we've not had full disclosure of financial statements. You could benchmark input cost. You could benchmark. We benchmark a whole raft of things, which is really just comparing within the group. Professional fees. How do you get value out of an agronomist?
And that's pretty status quo. It's not very confidential stuff.
Not very confidential. So you can benchmark a ton of things. We just don't. We're just very, very careful not to for the participants not to feel that they're going to have to disclose a whole bunch of personal and private financial information.
I like that you said that. Okay, you know, this has been a fantastic discussion. I really like this, and I'm excited to bring this episode to farmers because, again, as we're talking and sharing why peer groups are so important, I could just feel the benefits and the importance myself because I know I had a chat with another gal that I had on here, and she said the same thing. She said she's not going to confide in friends and family because they don't get it. She doesn't want to share that burden in the hard years. And talking about farming isn't really relevant when you're with people that don't farm. So I think peer groups could just be such a fantastic place for farmers to share the good times, the bad times, grow, and just have somebody on their team, in their corner, however you want to phrase it. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, what I want to ask you, I know you guys as a company, Backswath Management, you guys are facilitating peer groups. If somebody wants to find out more about peer groups, whether it's through you or somebody else, can they get in touch with you? Where do they go to find more information?
Sure, and we're happy to talk to them. But Tracy, how do I say this? At Backswath, we just want to help farmers. And a lot of the resources that we have, peer groups being one, we're willing to share and make some of those resources available to farms. Basically, if a farmer wants to get in a peer group and they don't want to do it through Backswath, that's okay with us. We'll try to help them find other peer groups.
Okay.
I'll send them information on what a peer group is. I've done workshops on peer groups or made presentations in workshops on peer groups. So we're just happy to help them, however, to find a forum that they may want to use that they can get access to in their business challenges.
Okay, perfect.
Excuse me. Maybe you want to say that again.
No, we've been having a great conversation. So that's fantastic, Terry. Your website, they can go there, find more information. I imagine on there they can find your phone number, give Terry a call, and as Terry said, he's more than happy to share information or work with you guys to set up a peer group. So
sure.
Fantastic.
And can I interrupt?
Absolutely.
A better way to say it is, Tracy, there's not a chance that we can help every farmer that wants to be in a peer group in Western Canada be in peer groups. I mean, there is just so many farms out there. So we got to try to help.
Okay.
We got to try to help, and to the extent that we are able, we will.
I love it. Okay, what a fantastic episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to catching you on the next episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.